Once the summaries are recorded, I would love to have an opportunity to give feedback to the students. I'd love for them to be able to give feedback to one another. In this particular example, this is Will's presentation. His is submitted. He's turned it in for me to give him feedback on. And I'll probably have the kids review 2 or 3 of each other's and offer up suggestions as far as details that were missing. What about their slides that were unclear, whether they left out key information, as well as what they sounded like as presenters. Did they need more inflection in their voices? Did they use proper grammar? Did they speak clearly? Were their media selections appropriate? So this is an example of me leaving Will feedback on just one of his slides. So this is one of the completed summaries from one of my students, Will. And what I hope to do is to be able to go through and listen to their slides and give them some feedback, whether through text or audio, and hopefully give them an opportunity to make their projects better. And ultimately what I want them to do is share this with one another and do the same. So let's listen to this.
At the start of chapter 32, Angela explained to Jonah and Catherine how when she disappeared in the library at their meeting, the then fighting took her to this place called Outer Time.
Alright, it's not bad. Alright, Will, what I really like about this particular slide is that you didn't feel like it was necessarily that you necessarily needed to define what outer time is. And I want you to think about, whenever you do a project or a presentation like this, I want you to think about who your audience is. And because I am your audience and I know what's going on in the story, you don't necessarily have to define what outer time is. But let's say if this were an assignment for somebody who had never read the book, then it might be necessary for you to define what outer time is, okay, just so that they know what you're talking about. So overall, good job on this particular slide. And then what it does is it'll play back the comment for me. All right, well, what I really like about it, and I'll get a chance to listen to it, and I know that I'll stick with whatever it is that I'm saying and save that for him. And then he'll have my feedback right there, which is pretty cool. I'm thinking beyond this assignment, since the technical skills for VoiceThread will be the same regardless of the learning activity, the content area, or the grade level. Once they learn how to use it, they'll be able to use it over and over for a wide range of purposes. So putting in the time and effort to learn how to use it can pay huge dividends in the long run. Great. We just got done watching 15 minutes, way over, about how my class learned to use this application. So big deal. Why mobile technology? And I want to talk about that in 2 ways. I want to talk about affordances and student engagement. And before I can do that, I just have to mention that I learned a great deal from the 5 articles that I read on mobile and Web 2.0. Just from reading Loy and Wong's research on implementing mobile learning curricula in schools, they talked about how schools can't just throw technology at teachers and expect things to magically happen. They have to actually move through phases to where the innovation can actually become part of the routine classroom practices. And I read about how their goal towards working to create a scalable, sustainable classroom started with design-based research approaches to address complex problems in real classroom contexts, in collaboration with teachers, and to integrate design principles with what technology affordances could create. And they could create solutions to real needs in teaching and learning. It was really fascinating, the amount of time they invested to scaffold their implementation. Their innovation involved transforming an existing science curriculum into an inquiry-based one, which leveraged the affordance of mobile technology, or affordances. And in a broader context, they wanted to create what they called seamless learning, this environment to bridge different learning contexts using mobile devices and one-to-one, 24/7 basis, giving their kids access in and out of the school, formal and informal settings, whether individual or social, learning in physical and or digital realms. And I think VoiceThread does that. It did do that for us. And in their pilot study of seamless learning, um, what I think they tried to do was harness what Wong and Roy call the portability and versatility of mobile devices to promote a shift from didactic teacher-centered to participatory student-centered learning. And with appropriate learning design, the mobile technology facilitated the transformation of classroom learning activities into a more student-centered, personalized, and social learning process for the students where they need to process and associate their experiences or the information received in informal contexts with the knowledge that they acquired or constructed in the classroom. Then they were to reflect upon any discrepancy, apply the knowledge to solve real life. What we're talking about here is really this idea of self-regulated learning, this learning that could happen anywhere, anytime, and they could just monitor their own learning. And I think they can really do that using mobile technology because the learning doesn't just take place inside the classroom anymore. That's why I'm a huge proponent for mobile technology. To begin with, mobile technology is more than what it appears. There's this big push right now, according to Burden and Atkinson, in their article evaluating pedagogical affordances of media sharing, Web 2.0 technologies. And even though the article was written in 2008, I still think it rings true. Here where they say, identifying particular pedagogical affordances of educational technology is fast becoming the holy grail of educational technologists and researchers alike. Both are interested in identifying the unique feature, sets, and characteristics of particular technologies that add value to the learning experience over and above what might be expected without the technology. So affordances, according to McLaughlin and Lee, is defined as the activities or practice that the function of a technology enables the user to perform. So, in other words, the specific design and functionality of a particular tool or technology does not define its pedagogical usefulness. So it's this idea that just because you have a pen and you use it to write with doesn't mean that you can't turn it into something else. And that's why I really love this comic here. It's kind of a throwback to growing up. MacGyver just needed two things and he could make magic happen. So it's kind of the same idea with the technical features of applications, like VoiceThread, for example. So one feature is you have the ability to zoom in and out of specific artifacts, like an image. So the affordance, what that means for learning is that you can concentrate on or focus the learner's attention on specific aspects of the artifact. Another feature of VoiceThread is the ability to post handwritten annotation on the artifact, which leads to an affordance of learners and tutors can identify specific temporal or spatial aspects of the artifacts and isolate these features for increased attention or concentration. And the list goes on and on. You have these features that the application allows you to use, right? But there's so much more than just that feature. What it does for learning, that is what researchers are diving into and trying to just pull out of these applications to justify why it is that mobile and Web 2.0 should be used in teaching and learning. And the second reason why I'm a huge proponent for mobile technology in the classrooms is student engagement. What mobile and Web 2.0 does for student engagement. Now, even though I'm pulling from Brunvand and Bird's article, I'm using VoiceThread to promote learning, engagement, and success for all students. I see it every day. At the beginning of the article and throughout the article, they kind of profile three students. Students who, I guess, the system has quote unquote failed. And when I worked in a public school, I had a wide range of abilities within my class. Kids who were labeled ADD to ones who had specific learning disabilities and disorders. And What Brunvan and Bird talk about is that in some of these cases, it puts kids in a position to potentially fail due to a lack of motivation or fear of failure, even though interventions were in place through multiple grade levels. Uh, in school, we still saw where students experienced so much related failure that they just didn't have any motivation or desire to learn and ended up developing really bad habits of relying on us to complete their work, and habits that were just incredibly hard to break. So they go on to talk about um, mobile being able to build student knowledge and skill. Educational strategies for each student should be aimed at increasing school engagement, motivation, and learner independence. And what better way than to use something that already naturally has their attention? I mean, if we can get some active learning going, we can not only engage them, but sustain that attention. We can use that curiosity, that natural curiosity they have, and foster and direct their interest and desire to create, to leave a mark with whatever Web 2.0 application we're learning at the time. And I think if we can get kids to participate actively, hopefully maintain their motivation, we can ultimately get them to complete assigned work that we feel is worthwhile, that can help them learn. And this is the future of learning. This is what it's all about, I think. Um, the 4 C's, 21st century learning, learning that is driven by design, that's personalized, media driven, learner centered, visibly relevant, adaptable, data rich. I just think that I think this is the direction that we're going. And VoiceThread is just one of the applications, one of many that will allow us to kind of shift our teaching to use the resources that we have in front of us. Lastly, I won't spend too much time on this, but as far as the 4 C's of 21st century learning go, I saw all 4 parts come alive in the classroom. Whether it was through communication of my students just teaching each other and collaborating with one another, sharing their ideas on how their writing and their presentations can become better, them teaching each other. Some kids just really like to think out of the box, and some kids are just really straightforward as far as what they decided to use in their presentations, whether it was an image, a video, or a drawing, and just watching them be creative with that. That was really encouraging. And as far as critical thinking goes, I think just watching them connect writing to their verbal presentations, getting them to think about their presentation skills and how they came across to make sure that they were clear. And I can just see this particular app being used across the board in math, having them teach math problems to one another, explaining how to solve equations. I can see it in science, doing a presentation in slides using video and audio and images, talking about the water cycle or anything like that. I just think that this is a really, really awesome application. So basically, this is where I got all of my information from. I think my presentation ended up being way over, but like I said, I just found it really fascinating, and I'm looking forward to seeing VoiceThread become part of our regular, just one of the tools that we can use to make learning better for my students. Thank you.